Okay, in 3, 2, 1. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Platinum Podcast. My name's Austin, your host, of course, and we're doing a little something different today. We're going to be doing a Zoom meeting and with a person that I look up to as a podcaster, as a Hmong podcaster, as a content creator, as an anime fan, and also just a hard worker with whatever he does. I've known him for a little bit, and he's taught me to, just keep grinding on what you want to do. I got Ricky Vang from Spoiler Force podcast with me. What's up, Ricky?
So, man, thank you for having me on your podcast, bro.
Thank you for coming. I mean, I would, like we talked about in our last one when I was on yours, I do like to do face-to-face, so I'm glad we got all the technical issues figured out, and it's going to be a good time with this.
Yeah, it's what's funny is like when we did our episode on Spoiler Force, I think it was episode 51 on my podcast. So for those of you who are curious, you can check that out. Yeah, we did it through Facebook or Skype call, and
Yeah.
So I think for me it's a big change to doing like I don't use Zoom, I use StreamYard, but it's practically the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what was it like for you, like switching? Because I know that you were only doing audio before like the quarantine like really hit.
Yeah.
Has it been different?
Yeah, it has been. I think I avoided a lot of video because I'm terrible with eye contact. So like sometimes
Oh,
if you see me with on my podcast episodes or even on this one, I tend to fidget a lot and I look a lot, like I look around a lot. So I'm
okay.
terrible with eye contact. So I think I got a bit self-conscious with that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm getting better at it. I don't mind face-to-face or like in-person podcast, but with quarantine, that kind of like that's not really happening.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
but I made the change because I think that's what it is right now. Everyone likes the visual stuff.
Yeah.
Audio is still good and everything, but with like podcasts like Rogan's and Timothy Delgado and Dumbfounded, they all got the visual
Yeah.
aids for their podcast, so that
Mm-hmm.
really helps. And I don't know if you follow like a lot of these Facebook content creators too, like they're starting to use more StreamYard or Zoom.
Oh yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so like that is getting a lot more popular now. So I think it's still kind of weird for me because I guess with quarantine we make the best of what we have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, video chatting or doing podcasts by way of video chatting is kind of just the thing right now. So I kind of
Yeah,
just
I
had
think
to
I think it's
stick with it.
just a different type of content, right, too, for people to absorb, because some people like just to listen to the podcast, or some people like to watch and listen.
Yeah, I got a buddy who told me, he's like, yeah, I don't listen to your audio, but I listen to it on YouTube. I was like, it's really no different, but I guess
Yeah.
whatever works for
Either way,
you.
you're leaving it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to get into like I know like we've talked about it like personally, like how you got into it, how you got into podcasting and stuff like that, and how to even get into content creating. I go through your videos, and you have a lot of videos. So I didn't
Yeah,
make it all the way to the end,
I
but
got over like 1,000
yeah, I
videos
know
on
you
my
got a
YouTube channel.
lot under your belt. I know you got a lot of videos. So how did you even start, or when did you even decide to start like recording something? Because I know you have like a few like concerts in there too in
Yeah,
your channel.
I don't even know where to start, man. Because like honestly, it was never intended to be like that. I've had the same channel since I was in 8th grade. Like before YouTube let me like change the URL and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Before you used to be able to assign one, but now that you have to have 100 subscribers. So before I had it under Vangkid. I think sometimes that URL still comes up from time to time. So it's like VANGKIDD.
Okay.
I had it under that URL for like a very long time, and I grew up. I was like, damn, that's kind of embarrassing. So I had to change it. So yeah, I started just doing videos like I don't know what started it. I think it was just like I was really obsessed with song covers back when YouTube was starting up. Like a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
the Asian YouTubers. That was a big one.
Yeah.
So like guys like Joseph Vincent, Jason Chen, Wong Fu, those guys, Tim Delgado, like Traffic before he was
Yeah.
who he is now. Those people really inspired me. So I think doing song covers helped me kind of just like, all right, I'm just going to upload content, because I was doing that on MySpace too. I was uploading videos on MySpace and all that. But, you know, like I've said before, I have, I guess, some sort of like anxiety when it comes to like looking at the camera.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I blacked out the visual. I left the audio.
Mm.
But yeah, and then like it just, excuse me, it just jumped everywhere. It went from like song covers to, I tried doing vlogging, like when David So first came on the scene, the Alexandra Wallace thing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
tried doing vlogging. I stopped for a minute, and then I don't know if you've seen. I have like some old ass like one or two like fight videos on my YouTube channel, like old
I
ones.
haven't stumbled upon those yet.
It's bad. I was trying to get into like, I was trying to be like a backyard MMA Kimbo Slice kind of thing. I was
Oh,
trying to do
yeah.
that. Yeah, I got my ass beat in my video. I tried doing that, and then yeah, I took a break, but I never deleted the channel. I just kept it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Mhm.
over the years, it just kept getting views, and then I was throwing up concert videos up there just so I can keep memory of it. I didn't
Yeah.
think that they were gonna. I mean, like, I'm not getting nothing from it because it's all copyrighted. So,
Mhm.
but some of those videos like hit like 70,000, 50,000 views.
Yeah, I saw
So
that too. I was like, "What the heck?"
yeah, so they were like racking up my overall channel view, because like right now my YouTube channel overall, it's like over 500,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but then I have like maybe one song cover that's like at 20,000 views, but it was from I don't know if you've seen this movie. It was from Think Like a Man. It's a song in the movie, but it was never finished. So like I did a cover of like just that song. It's only like a minute and a half, and
Mm.
then that one got some views, and then yeah, it just from concert videos, and then I think that's the last thing I really did before I switched over to podcasting, if I can think correctly, because I have so much content from like just again from song covers and all that stuff too. I was trying to
Yeah.
help my cousin out too. She's a singer too, so I was doing duets with her and stuff like that.
Mm. And what was the year when you actually like went into like podcasting?
When I got into podcasting, honestly, I never knew what podcasting was. So,
Yeah.
shout out to my boy Andrew Lee. He, for those of you who don't know, he's been on my podcast several times. He's one of the main reasons why I got into it.
Mhm.
We did he introduced me into podcasting because like we were all into comic books and all that nerd stuff.
Yeah.
So he needed a third guy for his podcast because I think he just wanted more, I guess, more
Like
points of
voices.
views. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So he asked me because like at that time I wasn't into comic books like I am now. So he wanted my perspective because I was giving off like a general public kind of opinion.
Yeah.
So he wanted that. So we started. We got together. It was originally the group was called Pop Luck Podcast. That's where I started with my boy Andrew, me, and another guy we had in there. Um, we did it for like a year and a half since 2016. I think maybe like a little over. We did it over like the time span was like a year and a half, but within like 8 to 9 months, we kind of fell off. We were just being inconsistent with the posts
Yeah.
and stuff like that. We couldn't find exactly what our voice was. We did like not even 15 episodes. So we decided to take a break from that. And it was just a headache because like we could never schedule the perfect time or day to record. And
Yeah.
it was just a hassle going to each other's houses. And then, Andrew did like 80% of that work. He was
Oh.
editing, uploading, he had all the equipment. I was coming up with like a lot of the, just the side tangents to talk about. I honestly, I didn't even put that much effort into it. I
Yeah.
was getting lazy with it too, but
You
I
were
think
just
they
there.
kind of, yeah, Andrew kind of sensed it. So we all took a break from it. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
and then I think after that, when I started Spoiler Force, it was May of 2019. I was at work. I was, at this point, I'm just getting into podcasting or
Yeah.
podcasts now. So I'm listening to Rob Paulson's Talking Tunes, and on his podcast, Rob Paulson, he's like a world known voice actor. He does like Carl from Jimmy Neutron, Yakko
Yeah.
from Animaniacs. He he had this podcast episode. I forgot which one exactly sparked it for me because all his episodes are great. But I think maybe it was the one with him and Dante Bosco, because that was his last episode on his podcast that he had. And Dante Bosco is one of the like first Asians to lay the that kind of work ethic for
Yeah.
us who want to
For
be in
us,
the
yeah.
entertainment community, entertainment industry, and plus being Southeast Asian really
Really hits
makes it
home.
relatable. Yeah,
Yeah.
like because you can see a face that kind of looks like yours on TV. So shout out to Dante Bosco. But yeah, I think Rob Paulson's podcast, man, I don't know. I love his content, but I think it's because like he was so expressive with how he was talking, how he loved his job, he loved his experiences, he loved what he was doing. So and I could just feel that through the audio,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me. I was just so convicted by it. So, I gave it some thought. Like I said, spoiler first started in May, but then I didn't. I told the other guys from Pop Luck back in like March around there.
Oh yeah.
I gave them like a heads notice. I was like, hey, if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna start my own podcast and use this page since we already have like a not even a following, but like a few followers.
Yeah.
So at that time we were like declining. We went from like 300 likes to down to like 220. We were declining pretty bad.
Okay.
So we all agreed to it. It was cool. And then I started Spoiler Force in May. Was doing audio, through SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and it just originally Spoiler Force was supposed to be just like anime and comic book reviews and nerdy stuff, but I don't know exactly how I got into like all this other content creators and like having got other podcasters on. It's like at this point I'm just like, man, I don't know if I should just change my brand, but I was like, it sticks though. Everyone knows me through that. So
yeah, that's true. Because it's kind of like you opened the door, right, to podcasting about anime and stuff, but then that door led to so many other different doors that opened as well. You know what I mean?
And I think that's what it was.
Just like kind of came together.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, my podcast, it's been my like New Year's resolution too since the beginning of this year before everything went to shit. It was like, I wanted to find ways to express myself, through creativity and just through my art. Yeah. And I take a lot of that from Bruce Lee, being able to express myself fully without any hesitations, or through my art, and just find ways to fully express myself. That's something that he says that in his books and stuff, but I think as a person, I think that's very hard to do, because you'll never be happy with the work that you make, because you have to keep making more and continue to grind and stuff. But
yeah, that's true.
Back to the Spoiler for stuff. It was anime content, comic book content, and then I think I give a lot of credit to DC Reacts too. Because
and I just saw your past upload with him too.
Yeah, like he really motivated me too, because shout out to DC too, man, because he, like, you were saying that I grind for and work hard. He was working hard too, man, because he started a few months before I did, at that. And I'm gonna let out a little secret here. I watch a lot of podcasters, like not even big names. I love looking at the people who are growing. That's how I found yours, honestly. Like that's how I found your podcast. I found William Chillingwalk Mo. I found his. A lot of the Hmong podcasters that I'm trying to bring onto my podcast now, or even in the future. I'm watching you guys. I'm watching you guys. Because you never know who's gonna pop.
That's very true.
So I keep my eyes on a lot, as much as I can.
Yeah.
So DC was one that I watched, and I watched him pop. I was like, holy shit! Within the year that we started, he went from like, I watched his videos from before his 100 subscribers,
Yeah.
and then so when he went from 100 subscribers to over 1,000 within 9 months, that's when I had him on my podcast. I'm like, damn, they're like, he's doing something right.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I think it was because of that. So that's when I started trying to bring people into my podcast. I had like my, I had my cousin as my first guest. He was an actor in Gran Torino, just to try it out. Cause I have a bunch of friends who are like actors and movie, producers and all that stuff. So I started off with them because it was relatable. They like all the anime stuff too. And then it just branched out, and then by the time I knew it, I had guests like William Hung, LP.
Those are pretty legendary.
Yeah, and like international guests like Rach Delin, Benjamin Nuss, the Final Fantasy podcast. I'm brain farting on their actual name, but Daryl and Lauren. That's who they are. But they're from the UK. I've been very fortunate to be able to work with the guests that I've had,
Yeah.
and there's very few artists and content creators that I've actually paid for. And I say pay because, I there's no shame in paying for your guests. It's a business. So, anyone who's doing podcasting, don't be ashamed to say that you paid for their time, because it does support them, and it shows that the people you bring on are pretty serious. So
Yeah, that's true.
I've been very fortunate too. But this year I've been very fortunate that a lot of the guests were willing to jump on my podcast, let alone collaborate like how you're doing with me. So
I mean, I'm very fortunate just to have was able to be onto your podcast, right? The way you discovered me, because honestly, I always thought that I would be known as like that fashion and sneakerhead type YouTuber and content creator. But then it was just like, I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I just wanted to conversate with people. I found that through like just, going to parties or like just making the content. I was like, I'm tired of just talking to myself with the camera. Like, I'm comfortable with that already. So I kind of want to like challenge myself to like, let's have me talk with somebody else in front of a camera, And I think, like you said, like it is kind of scary, like first time being on a camera, or like just being on a camera, like in front of a camera, like you don't know, you might not know how to like position yourself or like where to look and stuff like that. It is kind of like a lot of pressure on you too. But then I think like the more like you just do it, I think it gets easier. You know what I mean?
That's the plus side to doing video chat podcasts, because like the audience is more lenient on how you look. So
like I'm in a hoodie right now.
Like
I'm at
for
home.
me, I'm at home. It's like, what are you gonna do about it? I don't need to dress up. And you're like, studio wise, you don't got to worry about like how unless your background is like dirty as fuck, but like, you don't got to worry about your background too much, unless you can be creative with it, have a green screen or whatever. But it all comes down to just the content you talk about. So I think for me, that's why I stuck with audio so much for so long, because like at that point I was just like, man, if they don't even like care about what I have to talk about, I know they're not watching me. So I think, after like 50 or so episodes, I thought that I made the switch. And then, I mean, I'm comfortable with where I'm at now too, but I think that's the plus side to video chatting, like video chat podcasting, because folks don't really care about my background.
So how have you been during this quarantine? Like, how are you handling it? Like, there was the first half, right? That was when we met. And then now there's going to be, or it's already the second half of this corona. How have you been dealing with it? Or you and like your family?
You mean like just overall, or
like just like overall?
Right now? Okay. So when corona started, I was kind of glad I was out of, I was getting unemployment money. So that was a plus. But there was times where corona did hit me pretty hard. I think it didn't hit me until like I wasn't sick, but like it didn't the isolation factor that
Mm-hmm.
didn't hit me till like around April. So like after I did our episode, I did my episode with you. I took like that hiatus
Yeah.
because like that's when it hit me. I was like, oh shit, I need to take a break.
Yeah.
And then there was other personal issues too, so that
Mm-hmm.
happened, and then yeah, I took like a 3-week hiatus, and I came back slowly, and then yeah, I mean I've been fine since, but I did not expect Corona to be, or the quarantine to be to this extent. So
Yeah.
I think I've been doing okay. Nothing too bad. My folks are good. Um, I mean, it's like I'm kind of nervous because like I've been feeling congested, so I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh shit, I hope I don't have COVID, but
Yeah.
because like I got tested earlier this year, I was fine.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, damn, I don't know. You never know, man. It could creep up on you. So I might have to go get tested, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, to anyone who's listening, please get tested, because if you feel somewhat sick, it's not just for you, but for your fellow brothers and sisters.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't even been tested yet.
You
That's
should,
the
man. Just do it. Just
Yeah,
for
I know. Like
that.
my girlfriend and I, we've been talking about like getting tested, because like our school, they give out free tests, so it's like you might as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but then like I don't know. I think like a good way to see this quarantine is like creating content, right? Do you think that you would have made more content without this quarantine, or
Uh,
about the same?
I think honestly, I think I would have been the same. Quarantine just really helped me to focus more on my content.
Mm.
So, um, but I probably would have still put out the same amount of work. But I'm thankful though, because of quarantine, I was able again to watch all of you guys. So I was able to get all the podcast knowledge and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So that's the plus side. But I probably would have still pushed out more episodes, but maybe not the same episodes I have right now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but you know that's the funny thing about quarantine, man, because like once that started, everyone became a content creator. I was like, I was
Yeah,
seeing
that's
people I
true.
didn't know and all that
Like
stuff.
TikTok or even YouTube or just something like on Facebook or like Instagram,
Yeah,
something like they had something to do on camera, you know,
I mean,
which is
I
a
think it
good
was
thing.
good for a lot of artists too. Like a lot of the
Mm.
craft makers and stuff. Making masks and stuff.
Oh
Small
yeah.
businesses were like going pretty good for quarantine. So I think that was the plus side.
Yeah, like even the Hmong grandmas, like they started making masks too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was really like uplifting, you know, when like communities coming together and doing that. And also like you're not just a podcaster and an anime lover, but you also do jujitsu. Is it jujitsu?
No, I wish, but right now I'm currently relearning taekwondo
Oh,
under
taekwondo.
under Master Chung and in Roseville, Michigan. Um, the dojan's called Tiger Chung's martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
His Master Chung, their dojan had to close down because Master Chung, unfortunately, someone there got COVID. So,
Oh,
yeah, so they had to close down. I was kind of glad because I was like, I hurt my back like the 2 weeks prior before
yeah.
that announcement.
Oh yeah,
So
you
I
were
was,
talking about this to DC, right?
yeah, I hurt my
Yeah.
back, and then and then right as that happened, then I got the email. I'm like, oh shit, like oh my god, good thing I didn't
Damn.
go. So but yeah, it was pretty coincidental, but yeah, I recently got my orange and white belts. I went up one rank.
Mm-hmm.
Taekwondo, I don't, I went back to Taekwondo because that was the first martial art that I ever learned as a kid. I was 6 years old. Um, my mom and dad wanted me to do something active, but the ironic part is like they wanted me doing something. They wanted me to be active, but they hated how aggressive I was. I was like, putting me in a martial arts class is not going to help.
Yeah, that's like the
Because
number
like,
one drive.
so, but yeah, I from first grade to like maybe third or fourth grade, I was almost a brown belt.
Oh
But then,
wow.
yeah, and then I quit because a lot of the quote unquote friends I made there, they all left. So
Mm.
at that time, I was like one of the very few students left, and when I look back at it, I regret it because I always tell people I know and stuff like that. I could have been in the Olympics. You never know.
Yeah, that's
Um,
very true. You could have been like Ronda
uh,
Rousey, man.
yeah.
Going to the Olympics and then transitioning to MMA.
Hope well, I mean, I like Ronda Rousey, but she was a sore loser.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was. Complained
But
about
back
it to
to
everybody.
yeah. But back to Taekwondo. Yeah, I went back. I just went back to learn it. I guess it was just something that I always not regretted, but I always felt like I had to finish.
Oh
So
yeah.
going back to relearn it has been very humbling. And plus, the mindset is so much different from from traditional arts to modernized arts, because with MMA and even jiu-jitsu grappling and stuff like that. I mean, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is very, you know, there's it branches off from Japanese jiu-jitsu, which is traditional
Yeah.
art too. But
Mm-hmm.
with the mixture of MMA, I feel like the mindset's so much different, because with MMA, it's a good thing too. But I feel like as I'm getting older, I don't need to display that kind of aggression anymore to
Yeah.
people. Um, and with the sport, with marketing, everyone's trying to be like a Conor McGregor or Nate
Oh
Diaz, or
yeah.
fuck, even Jake Paul from yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to. That's how you get clout. If when you're an athlete and a fighter, you gotta talk shit. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like that.
You have to put on a show, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not that kind of person. Like I own, like when I was in high school, still when I was training, when I was really into it, I was getting there. I was getting like really cocky. I was like, I could take on everyone.
Mm.
But that at that time, I was like, I was injury free. So I could care less. But
Yeah. When
now,
you were a high schooler, when
yeah,
you were
but like
unstoppable.
right, not 10 years later, I'm like hurt and shit. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, it sucks. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think just not just taekwondo, but any traditional arts. I think anyone who's seeking to kind of just find, I guess, a more peaceful way to learn martial arts, I think that's the way to go, because
Mm. I could
it
see
just
that.
yeah, because at least from this is just coming from my experience. Master Chung has been very helpful when it comes to training and teaching, and it's also mental. I think this year with COVID, everyone's been talking about mental health and growth, and
Yeah.
some people are pretty serious about it. Some people use it for clout, but I think for me, I learned to kind of just like be more focused again. I think taekwondo
Mm-hmm.
has helped me a lot with that. So hopefully whenever they do open back up, I can't wait to go back. But I think this just to let people know too, if you decide to take any martial arts class, you got to be prepared to pay. It's not cheap.
Oh
But
yeah, that.
you gotta look into who your sensei or who your teacher is, or whoever. You gotta look into that too. I was really looking hard into like a lot of these classic or old school martial arts, because if I didn't find, excuse me, if I didn't find Tiger Chung's martial arts, I probably would have went to a karate dojo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with Karate Kid and Cobra Kai being hot again, I'm like, damn, I might go learn karate just to do
Yeah.
it.
Dude,
So
Cobra Kai is like it's underrated, I think.
it's so good. Like,
Yeah.
don't even give me like I can do it this whole podcast about Cobra Kai. I did a whole episode on that too, but I could talk about that forever. It's so
We
good.
we could do that on a different episode, just strictly
Yeah.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. What's with season 3 is coming
Yeah,
out
season 3's coming
next
out.
month. Yeah, so I can't wait. But yeah, it's just I don't want to keep repeating myself, but yeah, traditional arts, it's good for your health, mental health, man. It's good for being focused. To kind of just I forgot how good it was to just meditate, to kind of just clear out
Yeah.
all
And
the
I think
bad.
also like just like as much as it is like physicality, like a physicality game, I think it's the same as like the mental game, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially when you're older, like when you were young, you're like you said, you were like super aggressive and going at it like physically, right? But then now you're going at it at a different point of view, like older, wiser, more like mentally stable, instead of like that aggressive kid that you were, you know what I mean, going into that
yeah.
type of game.
it's not to knock on to anyone who's trying to be a professional athlete or like a fighter. It's just, you know, I think having that kind of mindset where like you got to always not win. I don't, how can I word this? Like where aggression is always like the key factor. I think that's kind of misleading because
Mm,
I think that, you know, if you're truly a great fighter, you don't need to express that.
yeah.
Fedor Emelianenko talks about, you know, I'm gonna butcher his quote, but like he talks about like the best fighters one's like quiet, you know,
Yeah.
and Fedor was one of the all-time greatest for a long time, and you know, one of my favorite fighters of all time is Lyoto Machida. Man, that guy was super humble. He was super good, but then he just couldn't market. Like it's all about market value at this point. Like he couldn't be
Yeah.
marketed because he was too nice. You gotta. I mean, if you're good, if you're naturally good, like if you are a natural bad guy, like Conor McGregor, then by all means go for it. But then you got all these goofy dudes coming out of nowhere, like just trying to do that now. I'm just like, it's too much. It's too
Yeah.
much.
It's like WWE where you have to like put on a promo, you know, like all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I mean, I think well with professional wrestling, I give them a lot of credit because having the mic skill is the
It's hard,
hardest.
man.
Yeah, if
It's
if
hard
you
to win
can't
over the
talk
crowd,
shit,
dude.
yeah, you can't talk shit. Like, don't even start. Like, you got these MMA fighters out here like trying to run their mouths, and it just doesn't sound good.
Yeah. I don't know. They come up with like some weird trash talk, like what
Yeah,
elementary schools say. You know what I
right.
mean? It's
That's
weird.
why I give Connor so much credit because he's good at trash talking. You know, one of my favorite ones is like he didn't even trash talk. It was with what's his face, like Jeremy Stevens. He was like, who the fuck is that guy? You know, like that's one of my favorite ones, man, because he made someone who was like a UFC vet into a joke, like by just saying that.
Yeah, for real.
So I was like, damn, dude, like as much as I hated McGregor, like I give him credit, he's good.
Yeah, for sure. I want to start talking about like how it was. Did you grow up and were like born and grown up in Michigan?
Yep, I was born and raised in Michigan. I was actually born in Detroit, and then maybe 4 or 5 years old,
Mm,
my folks moved out to like a more suburban area. My mom didn't really want me to. Excuse me. My mom didn't really want me to grow up in the the that kind of neighborhood.
mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it wasn't honest. When I look back at it, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. But you know, my mom, she was just like, no, you know, I don't want you to go into that kind of school system and stuff like that. So they took me to like all these Mikado schools or suburb schools and stuff like that. And then yeah, my folks, we moved around quite a bit. We went from Detroit to some of the east side suburbs of Detroit, so just like maybe like a few miles outside of Detroit. And then
Yeah.
there was one point in time in my life where I lived in Minnesota for like 6 months, and then I came back to Michigan, and then I spent the majority of my life living in Centerline, Michigan, which is like a small city within, or like a small town or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
within another city or town. So it's so weird.
Yeah.
So I lived in that area from third grade till I graduated, pretty much. And then yeah, I've been Michigan native like most of my life.
You ever think about moving out?
Actually, now that you bring that up, I'm actually in talks with some people right now. Maybe within the next 2 or 3 years or so, I might move out, depending on how the job situation goes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in talks with people right now, so I can't say too much.
Oh
But
yeah. Okay.
yeah, but it's really weird because a lot of my good friends, they all moved out, and seeing them grow the way how they've done, like some of them, they were able to move out on their own, and some of them have really good jobs and stuff like that. And so I was like, damn, I think maybe, you know, maybe it's like that hometown curse or something, where if you don't get out of your hometown, then you don't really go anywhere.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. I felt
but
that, man.
yeah, so I think for me right now, I think that's why I'm like making these kind of major life choices.
Yeah.
But I mean, Michigan's not too bad. The Hmong community, honestly, I'll be honest, I was never into the Hmong community
Oh,
growing up.
really?
Yeah, so like I went to a Hmong church the majority of my life because my grandpa's a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in a very Christian oriented household. So the most Hmong people I'll see is probably my folks and
Oh,
all
yeah.
the Hmong kids at church. So
Mm-hmm.
I never really hung out with like outside Hmong kids, like Hmong kids outside of that environment until like maybe middle school and high school. And then I was kind of awkward because like I was very, I guess you could say, Americanized. I don't know.
Mm.
Kids
Like
back
compared to
then,
the other Hmong
yeah,
people?
kids back then would be like, Ricky, why are you so? The word was whitewashed.
Whitewash. I was
I,
called
I
that too. It's okay.
yeah. I don't know if I should say that because is that offensive in 2020 now? I don't know.
I don't know what's offensive nowadays, man.
I don't know. I can get canceled for anything. But yeah, being called whitewashed a lot growing up was really like not really a reality check, but I was like, it did make me feel different though. I noticed how like a lot of Hmong kids did treat me growing up because I liked different things. I talked
Yeah.
differently. A lot of the Hmong kids that I went to school with or grew up or hung out with, a lot of them had that, like that kind of urban swagger to them. They had the slang. They grew up in a different lifestyle. But me, I'm very reserved. I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I joke around and say like I grew up in a very safe environment. So like I spoke like a freaking white kid the majority of my life. So and as much as I like talk about like doing aggressive sports and stuff like that, I got into like very few altercations with people. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to always avoid that growing up. So a
Yeah.
lot of my friends who wanted to do that kind of stuff, I was kind of lucky that I never got into any of that.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
but yeah, just that's pretty much it for Michigan, man. Like it's very simple, down to earth kind of thing. But yeah, I think just growing up though, I think it's kind of made me when I look back at it, it makes me like I kind of appreciate that because I think it would be so much different if I only stuck to like one community or if I never got to learn about other stuff too. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
so I mean that's why like on my podcast I try to be more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
I love helping the Hmong community or trying to be a part of it too, but you gotta be more diverse and bring in people from different cultures and backgrounds too
Yeah. I
to kind
mean,
of expand.
yeah, I mean, like right now, it's just not even, it's not about our community anymore, like
Yeah,
the Hmong community anymore. It's like about everyone's community because we're all living here. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So, I mean, like for right now, like I do focus on, honestly, I do focus more on like Hmong creators and Hmong like guests and stuff like that, just to like make sure when I feel like Hmong people are taking advantage of like social media and like content creating and stuff like that. And when I feel like it is time to like, hey, like now we're at that next step that we should be, you know what I mean? We're not like somewhere else that like we could be, but then we're not, because like we were talking about in our podcast of like we have everybody, right? We have musicians, we have artists, we have podcasters, we have content creators, we have DC like with reaction videos and stuff like that. We have everybody, but then like I feel like for some reason we're just still not at that level of like people still don't know who Hmong people are. You know what I mean?
yeah. They still kind of question like, wait, so what is Hmong? Like we
Yeah,
still
it's
get
like
that from
where
time
are
to
you
time.
guys from?
I mean, I think over the past 20 years now, since I was from a kid till now, like I think being Hmong growing up um has being how can I word this, like being noticed as Hmong has changed a lot. People are
Mhm.
getting more aware of our culture and stuff like that now. But I think that you bring that up about we have all these content creators and stuff, but no one's being noticed. I felt the same way too. I always felt like when I watching Asian YouTube, man, like I always wished that there was at least one or two Hmong cats just
Right?
with
like
them, you know.
in Cali, or acting, or like even producing, or being the sound guy, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
having one of their names, having one of the 18 last names connected to that end credit scenes, you know what I mean?
yeah. I've always wanted to see that. So I mean, so I think that's what really kind of drives me too. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, I may never be a part of it, but hopefully one day, you know, we're seeing more and more creatives and stuff like that too
Yeah.
being out there more. But you know, when I look back at it, I really do wish, you know, I wish that Hmong folks were like, damn, like, you know, there's a Hmong person in that Wong Fu video, you know, like that would have been so motivating as a Hmong content creator.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so I really wish that's why like I'm so that's why I keep pushing the idea to keep being more diverse,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know who's gonna work with you, man.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like the Hmong community is slowly doing it. DC talked about it too, how he wants to like branch out to other Asian communities and stuff like that too. So
Yeah, for
I,
sure.
I think we're slowly getting there. We
Yeah,
got some,
slowly.
yeah,
But
we just got some old heads who don't want to do it, but you
yeah.
know, I mean, what can you do? So
You're right. You
I think
just
it's up to these, you know, people our age and younger to kind of just make the bridge to expand.
yeah, for sure. I totally feel that, man. And you talked about like just um just grinding, like, and like the things that motivate you. Like what what's your advice on like keep being motivated for like those, for like me, who like, you know, kind of like just kind of goes on hiatus a bunch of times, or like just puts out a video and then all of a sudden just not put out a video for like a month or two. Like
Well,
what's one of like your biggest advice for like for consistency?
okay, well, my advice for people who want to be consistent, you know, I watch a lot of other people's work, like I've said before,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to talk about consistency, I mean, everyone jokes on him, but David Yang, dude, that guy is one of the hardest working artists out there. I mean, because I first heard of him on LP's like tracks before they released. I had someone who knew LP who showed me the track, and he was like,
Oh
"This kid's
yeah.
like 17 and he's getting somewhere." You know, so from then on, I think there was like that 1 year where he released the track every week for a year or
Damn.
something like that. You know, I think he did that. I might be wrong, but something close to that.
Yeah.
But that's one of many, you know, things that helps motivates me. So my advice is to any artist out there or content creator, find something to influence you. You know, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the key. Because if you have no drive or no push, you're you're not gonna do it. Like, that's the honest truth. I mean, you can talk about it all you want, but you will never do it. There's gotta be something to ignite that fire in you. You know,
Yeah.
if you like, you know, worst comes to worst, if you have to get yourself into a state of mind where like it's like a last ditch effort. You know, so
Yeah.
you gotta, like, being hungry, man. Like I think it comes from like the fighter mentality that I used to have, you know,
Mm.
from wrestling and from fighting. You gotta want it, because if you don't, you know, you're gonna get folks are gonna get lazy with it. And I think for me right now, you know, being consistent has helped me a lot. So, you know, just be consistent, find what influences you, and then, you know, maybe another advice is like, don't look at the numbers. And I know we talked about that on my podcast too. Like, you know, don't look at the numbers, man, because
Mm-hmm.
that shit will fuck you up. I learned that firsthand this year too. Who cares? From If you have like 5 views or 1,000 views, who cares? You know,
Yeah.
just keep grinding out your content.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna find it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I mean, you found me, and I didn't have that many views. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
So,
never know, man.
yeah. I mean, like I said in the beginning, like you're one of the biggest motivators for my like for my content is like because I could see like, man, he's a Hmong person, and he's a content creator, and he's like a podcaster, and he's like passionate about what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Especially when you have guests on, you guys have something in common, like anime or like Cobra Kai or something. You know, I can see like that passion in your voice. You know what I mean?
Thank you, man.
So it's very humbling, and it's very motivating to see like somebody else just have that passion, that drive to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real here, man, because like it's as passionate as I get with my content, man. Like people don't realize like the work that gets put into making simple things like podcasts. You know, and
Yeah.
even if it's not video or audio, people don't realize like the effort it makes or the time it takes to edit something. You know, there was times this year where I was up for 32 plus hours just editing,
Hmm.
cropping, booking guests. You got to take your L's, man. I took so many L's this year. You know, you gotta. There are folks who you think will work with you who don't work with you. You're gonna have friends who, you know, fucking backstab you. Who try to, you know, you're gonna have people who try to copy and take your ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
podcasting is a very general thing, but
Hmm.
you know, there's gonna be people that are gonna try to do or duplicate what exactly that the work that you make. So you know, you can't let that get to you. And I learned a lot of this firsthand this year. You know, and I didn't know how to handle it, especially when I don't like when you don't have a team either.
Yeah.
It's that much harder. So I think, you know, doing this solo so far for 2 years now, I think I've done somewhat okay. But yeah, man, I think, you know, like you said, passion is what really matters most. I think if you have passion for your content, man, that you're gonna oversee all that bullshit. You know, you're gonna oversee a lot of the people who you thought were your friends or the people that, you know, who that, you know, anyone that's trying to like bring you down.
Yeah.
Um, I think right now, for me especially, I've learned to just be content, man. You know, there has been some artists out there, even Hmong artists who I reached out to. You know, they left me unseen. They, you know, shot me down pretty bad. You know, I had this one person I reached out to, and their manager was like, no, we're not gonna work with you. Like they flat out said
Oh
that shit.
wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn. They're like, I
Oh
at least I was like, you could have said that in a better way. But I was like,
right.
fuck. I mean, whatever, man. So you know, I think folks are so scared of that, and you know, I'm scared of it too. I'm still nowadays. I get anxiety when I get like when I get my emails returned from like other
Hmm.
people or that I reach out to. You know, I think there was like one time where I had a guest on the podcast, or not on the podcast, but there was a guest that I reached out to. I was so nervous to read that email. I had my sister read it for me. I was like, read
Oh
it.
wow.
I don't want to look at the result. You know, so yeah, man, it's people don't see that side. You know, people just think like the content that we make is just, you know, easy.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you
you know, we
just get
just
on a
crop
camera and
videos
talk.
together. Yeah, you know, they think it's like it's they think it's like something that anyone else can do. Like by all means, if you feel like you can do it, do it. But you're not
Right.
gonna,
Yeah.
you know, within a year or two, are you still gonna stick to that same, you know, that same grind? Are you still gonna try to do the same thing? Because most people, I guarantee you, most people will quit within not even a year of trying to do content.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I don't have that much videos out, but I know for a fact that I'm still going to be doing this. You know what I mean?
I mean, like I think for you, Austin, I think you know, I think taking breaks though, like a hiatus you took was good for you. You know, I think
Yeah.
when you make content in the mindset that, you know, that's not good for you, your content will turn out well anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I've
So
made videos that like I felt like I had to make that video, right? Like
yeah,
when I used to do my fashion channel, it's like, oh, like I used to do it almost like consistently weekly. And then I felt like there was this point where it's like, man, what am I gonna do this week? You know, I already did a hair review on this one. I already opened a pair of shoes. I did a review on it. And I did like something with clothes already. Like, oh, now I have to go buy something else to make a review, or like I have to like come up with something else to do. You know what I mean? And like it was really draining. You know. So then, yeah, I mean, it's good to hear from you that like it is okay to like take breaks. You know what I mean? And I've learned that too. Like it is okay to take, especially now with the
yeah,
quarantine and everything. Like not even with like content creating, or like if it's like with like school, or if it's just like like relationships or something, and if you feel like just totally like overwhelmed with everything, I think it's okay to take breaks. You know what I mean?
I think it's better for people in general.
In
People
the
forget
long
to take
run.
breaks. I think with how we live in the States, everything's so fast paced.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's just trying to grind and get to the top. You kind of forget how draining it is mentally to
Hmm.
just take a break and take a step back. And then again with mental health being the big thing, this year, I think a lot of folks have kind of just come to realize, like, yeah, as shitty as 2020 has been, I think it was good that a lot of
Hmm.
us took that break.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I think if it was a regular year, I think it would have just been another like another year, right? But then I think this year really opened everybody's eyes. You know what I mean? Although like a lot of people got sick, but it opened everybody's eyes, like, to be healthier, to
Yeah,
stay more sanitary, and just like the mental game is so important. I think everybody realized that this year.
yeah. I think that, but I think it's just so funny. Excuse me. I think it's so funny though because everyone was like, 2020 is my year. We're gonna do
Oh
this. We're gonna
yeah,
do that. This and that. And I was like, damn. Everyone got shut down.
right.
Even me. I'm just like, wow, man. Like
Yeah,
we expected so much out of this year, and you know. I don't think anyone's gonna say next year is the year. Like
yeah.
we're just gonna wait it out. We're gonna like,
Everybody's gonna stay quiet.
yeah, 2021 comes around. We're like, all right, we're gonna wait.
Yeah.
We're not gonna say anything.
See what happens.
Yeah.
How long do you think this thing's gonna go for, man? Like the pandemic and everything.
I honestly, I don't know, dude. Like all of the conventions that I wanted to go to, they've all been pushed till next year.
Mm.
Um, so I don't even know if they're gonna have it this year. I mean, because like with COVID, there's so many regulations and then health hazards and stuff like that. And I feel like maybe another. This is just my thoughts. Maybe another 8 to 9 months. Maybe if not like hectic quarantine, but like
Still wear
people,
masks.
yeah, wearing masks and distancing and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I think that's gonna stick around for a while. We're
Yeah,
not
for
gonna
sure.
have we're not gonna have 2019 within the next 6 months.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I think the
dude, it feels like.
masks. Well,
Go
what
ahead.
were you gonna say?
No, I said, like, I was saying, like, it feels like so long ago, man. Last year, like
Yeah,
everyone
that's
was just
true.
out together and stuff like that. So
Like
it's
partying
crazy.
together, going to
Yeah,
like EDC concerts and everything,
yeah.
like, and then now it's like no more. But then I think the mask is gonna stay forever. Like even if like let's say like even if we found a cure for corona, I think a lot of people are still gonna keep the masks because they see how like just dirty everything is. You know what I mean? Or like unsanitary and like a lot of germs and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, hold on, I gotta charge my. But yeah, like, and just like in China, like, or just in Asia in general, like they wear face masks, and that's like a regular for them. You know what I mean? So I think that's what we're gonna be leaning towards more too. So
Yeah, I like that ideology though, because in like Japan, they wear the masks not for other people's sake, but to let other people know that, hey, I'm sick, so I'm wearing my mask to keep you
hmm,
from not getting sick.
yeah,
I like that, but the perspective here in America is like when you see someone with a mask, like, holy shit, they're sick, like
yeah,
get them, like, so I hate that mentality here in the States, man. I hate it. It's just
it's
like,
America.
right. I mean, what can you do, man? So
Yeah, man.
uh, I think it's gonna stick around for a while. Yeah, I don't think anything will be changing exactly. I mean, with this year's election too, that, oh man, all that political shit's happening too.
Oh yeah.
I'm not ready for it, man. I feel like something is gonna happen,
By
and
the end of the year or at
right,
the
or
beginning of the year?
whenever. folks are going to be pissed regardless, man.
That's very true. Somebody's gonna get offended. Somebody's gonna get mad.
Right.
Nobody's gonna be happy.
Right. Oh, exactly, man. No one and I think that's the hard truth to swallow, right? Is the fact that none of the things that we had like from even a year ago, we won't go back to that norm. That's how I see it. We're not going back to that.
Like,
we
this
gotta
is the
adjust,
new norm, man.
Yeah, we gotta adjust to this new norm. And I think if once people come to terms with that, we will do slightly better.
Yeah, whenever that is, I don't know, but it's gonna be hard, especially here, in America.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a very tough subject too. I mean, like, because there's so many people affected by so many different things and different communities facing different problems and stuff like that. And honestly, social media has not made that any better. Social media is the worst, man. Like, you can find anything about everything, and then something will piss you off.
For sure. Like, even if like you go deep dive into somebody, right? Like Kevin Hart, he got canceled. I mean, that was last year, but like Kevin Hart got canceled. Like a lot of Chris Pratt was gonna, like, I don't know if he was canceled or was going to be canceled. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think he was on the verge of it, because wasn't it like he was killing a sheep or something, right? And the people got mad or something.
I don't know if it was that, but I think it was because like he's a Christian and
Oh yeah. He said something religious, and then that's right.
Yeah, and then that whole thing, and then I don't know. It's just like, then what can we talk about now? You know what I mean?
All right, I gotta bring this up. So yesterday was that, or at least for those of you who are listening, when this episode drops, yesterday was the Hyo Mon concert. I don't know if you watched that at all yesterday. Do you know who?
I did not watch that.
Do you know who that Mon actor is? Motong, the guy that always makes the face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, so I commented on that video. I was like, "Hey, is this offensive in 2020?" Just to see who would get mad about Motong doing his act, because obviously he's not disabled or anything.
Yeah.
But that was his gimmick for years.
Yeah, that's what he's known for.
Yeah, so I just threw that question out there. Hey, is this offensive in 2020? And then like you just see comments rolling, not commenting to me, but just comments rolling, and just like, if you're offended, then get out the chat. And then people were like he should not be doing this, da da da. Just like, whoa, man, it's just a little spark right there. I was like, damn, that's how crazy social media is.
Right? It just needs that one thing, one sentence or one statement. Yeah, man, it's crazy. We're kind of hitting the end right here. It's about like 40 minutes ish right now. Do you have any like last advice for like upcoming content creators or people who just wants to start? Because I know this channel is really about finding your passion, finding what you want to do, and like just starting.
My advice to anyone who's like, okay, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, so I feel like I'm still starting up too. But to anyone who is trying to start a channel or content, or trying to do this entertainment stuff that we're doing as well, I always say work with those who want to work with you. That's the number one. Don't have any expectations on who you want to work with. And just stay passionate, man. That's really, it all comes down to that. Work with those who want to work with you. Stay passionate. And I mean, that's the best way I can put it, because with Spoiler Force, it really taught me, like, just doing the podcast, it really taught me to find ways to stay creative, improvise. It taught me a lot of things that, like, just doing this process, like I had to learn this all on my own, man. And that's pretty much, that's the best way I can put it, man. Just work with those who want to work with you, and stay passionate.
Yeah, thanks, man. And last thing, do you have anything to plug? I know you just came out with the list of your next month's guests.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can follow me at Spoiler Force Podcast on Facebook. Pretty much anywhere really. I'm on all digital platforms for podcasts like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. You can find me on YouTube under Spoiler Force Podcast. Uh, Instagram, just type in Spoiler Force Podcast. I should pop up too. Twitch though is just my name, just Ricky Vang. I only do like live episodes on Twitch, so that's not a big deal. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. And then just stay tuned for next month if you follow me, because I got some collaborations going on. And December 4th, I have Coolio from Fax News as my first guest for December. So that'll be
Nice.
live on Facebook and Twitch. Yeah,
All
at
right.
9:30 Eastern.
All right, guys. We're at the end. Make sure you guys subscribe and go follow Ricky at all platforms. I'll make sure to link everything down in the description. Make sure you guys have a blessed day. Make sure you guys remember to stay healthy, stay mentally healthy, and wear your masks out there, man.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe to Platinum Podcast.
Yes, make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, do whatever you guys can to get the word out about being passionate about your passion. And have a blessed day. I'll see you guys.